Welcome back to the building of Extinction. This week we get to look at the assembled dinosaur skeleton, which is almost as large as a house. Last week we looked at putting on the leg bones, the hips and the pelvis onto the metal frames to get the structure standing. And this week we worked on assembling the rib bones here. One at a time, they thread over top of the steel spine. Then we move on to the neck vertebrae, and then finally the skull has been positioned pointing downward where it's going to be drinking out of an oil drum. We got the oil drum temporarily placed, and we got it braced so that we know exactly where the head is going to drop, because let's remember we're going to be mechanizing this beast. And then we have the tail as well on the back, so it's got many vertebrae that we put on. And it extends quite a ways back, and that creates a balance point between the two. So the next task is to get the parts for the mechanization ready. So that's installing a flywheel, the pulleys, the motor, and we've just started to assemble a motor support behind us. So once we get those all put together, we'll look at how the components fit together and how we can get this beast moving. This view shows the dinosaur being assembled with some of the ribs on the front part of the spine and then some of the tail bones protruding in the back part. When it comes time to put the rib bones on, it's a simple process of picking them up in the numbered order that they're labeled in, getting up on the step ladder, and then there's a little insert that fits it into the spine so it seats properly. These are a few shots that are just panning across the dinosaur, looking at it as we pan the camera across the spine, looking at the details, and going from the front to the back in this one. And in this view, looking from the tail, following along the spine, heading towards the skull in the front. And this view will angle the camera up, so we're looking up into the interior of the dinosaur, up underneath the spine and the ribs, and looking inside from the bottom of the skull. As we always do, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this project, the Beaverbrook Art Gallery, for hosting this digital residency, the Bonavista Vista Biennale, which will take place this August, in which Extinction will debut on the Bonavista Vista Peninsula in Newfoundland, the Canada Council for the Arts for their funding of this project, and the PEI Department of Culture for also funding this project.